All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're looking at a pretty radical theory, one that claims to tie biology, physics, and yeah, the entire cosmos into one single computable system. It's a huge idea. It suggests that reality itself might just be running on a kind of universal source code, an operating system for everything. So, what do a mushroom, a microchip, and the cosmos have in common? It sounds like the setup to a really weird joke, right? But according to this model, the answer is everything. The claim is they all operate on the exact same fundamental principle. And that's the central mystery we're going to try to unravel. So, to get our heads around this whole thing, we've got to start with the most tangible piece of the puzzle, a computer that isn't made of silicon, but one that's literally found growing in nature. Okay, first, you need to know about this thing called a memristor. Unlike a regular resistor you might have heard of, a memristor's resistance isn't fixed. It actually changes depending on the electricity that's flowed through it in the past. In other words, it has a memory. It remembers. You know, think about a transistor. It's basically just a switch. It's either on or off, a 1 or a 0. Simple. But a memristor is a totally different beast. Its state isn't just on or off, it's a whole continuous range of values. And this is the crucial part, it holds on to that state even when you turn the power off. It has a real physical memory of its own history. And here's where it gets wild. This high-tech sounding component isn't just something stuck in a lab, it's alive. The huge interconnected networks of fungal mycelium, the root systems of mushrooms, they behave exactly like biological memristors. They're basically a living, learning computer right there in the soil. Okay, so if the fungus is the hardware, then what's the software? What's the code that it's running? Well, the theory proposes that this natural computer runs on a mathematical rule that is shockingly simple and incredibly ancient. You've probably seen this before, right? It's the Fibonacci sequence. The rule is just so simple. Each new number is just the sum of the two that came before it. You're just adding. That's it. Over and over again. This process is called recursion, and it is the engine that supposedly drives this entire model of reality. And this is a huge deal. Modern physics is built on the complex, continuous mathematics of calculus. This model just tosses all of that out. It argues that at its most fundamental level, the universe doesn't do complicated calculus. It just adds. It evolves one simple step at a time. So what you get are two completely different views of physics. On one side, you've got conventional physics, which is just full of these messy, irrational numbers like pi and the square root of 2, numbers that go on forever and never repeat. But on the other side, you've got this idea of a rational field, which gets rid of them completely. The question is, how? The answer is a concept called quadrants. Instead of measuring the length of a line, you just measure the area of the square that line makes. I mean, think about the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. You're already working with squares. By just sticking with the squares, the quadrants, you never have to take a messy square root. Every single result stays perfectly exact, rational, and totally computable. So we have a natural computer running on a simple recursive rule that keeps all the math neat and tidy. Now this is where it gets really mind-bending, because this one little rule, it seems to scale up to describe, well, pretty much everything. First, at the biological level, this Fibonacci recursion perfectly models how that fungal computer learns and adapts its resistance. It's the literal algorithm for its memory. But then, if you zoom way into the quantum level, this model claims that the energy states of particles don't follow all those complex wave equations. Instead, they just jump between levels, following the exact same Fibonacci pattern. And if you zoom all the way out to the cosmic scale, it suggests the universe itself is breathing to this Fibonacci rhythm. The expansion and contraction of the cosmos isn't some one-way trip from a big bang, but an endless oscillating cycle, all governed by that one simple recursion. And unbelievably, this all comes together in one central equation. The total energy, squared, is simply the sum of the squares of space-time curvature, momentum, and mass. It links all the fundamental pieces of reality together with one simple rational law. No complex calculus, no irrational numbers, not needed. So this is the ultimate claim, right? The universe isn't governed by one set of laws for the big stuff and another for the small stuff. It's one unified system running one line of code over and over and over at every single scale.
Now, this idea of a completely computable universe, it has a profound logical implication. A chain of recursion can't just start from nothing. It has to have a beginning. Think about it. A sequence that builds on its own past, like f of n plus f of n minus 1, it has to have an initial state to build from. If you have a bunch of different starting points, or no starting point at all, the whole system just breaks down. The logic doesn't work. It's undefined.
So the model argues that for this cosmic program to even work, there must be a single, indivisible starting state. It calls this the unity fixed point, and it's represented by the number 1. This is the seed, the origin from which all the complexity of the Fibonacci sequence, and therefore all of reality, unfolds.
And this is a really important point. The theory presents this not as some kind of metaphysical belief, but as a hard logical necessity for the system's own mathematical consistency. For reality to be a coherent, computable program, it must logically originate from a single, unique source. So let's just boil this all down. The core ideas are, reality can be modeled as an exact, computable program. Its source code is just simple Fibonacci recursion. This whole framework cleans up physics by kicking out all those irrational numbers. And, maybe the wildest part, the entire system is designed to be mathematically provable.
Which brings us to a final, really crucial point. This isn't just some abstract idea on a whiteboard. The source material for this explainer actually includes formal proofs written in a language called Lean 4. What that means is a computer has actually run through the proofs and confirmed that the system's rules are logically sound. The math holds up.
And all of that leaves us with one final provocative thought. It's one thing to have a theory of everything. It's something else entirely to have one that's not only simple, but formally provable from a single origin. If reality really is a program that we can verify, what does that change about our place inside of it?